सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are listening this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are in the 6th chapter. In the last class, we had a discussion on the 35th verse of the 6th chapter. Arjuna had raised his a question and a doubt. Seeing when Bhagavan is eulogizing the achievements of the yoga, where this yoga can be taken, and those ideas, very lofty ideas of experience of that highest state of the yoga. Seeing those, Arjuna thought and he said that this does not seem possible because of unsteadiness of my mind. Etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. That chanchalatvat, due to restlessness, due to unsteadiness of my mind, I cannot see sthitim sthiram etasyaham na pashyami. I do not see that its steadiness, that I will be able to ever be able to steady myself in this state, what you are explaining as this achievement or of yoga, of this accomplishment of yoga. I do not see it possible for me. And then he said that, and from that, as if it leads to put across a problem which is very fundamental. It is not only then relate to how to attain very highest state of such yoga or spiritual attainments. Now it states the very basic problem of our living itself. And then he says, Arjuna says, that chanchalam hi manah krishna pramathi balavat drudham. tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. This is what he said in the 34th verse. That now he says about disciplining or controlling the mind. Nigraha. Graha means holding something, that is called as grahana. Grasping something is called as grahana. Nigraha means nisheshena, means having the absolute control of the thing. That is called as graha. So nigraha, absolute control of here the mind. And he says it is as difficult as controlling the wind, the air. Vayoriva, as if. Eva means as if controlling the wind. It is so difficult. It cannot be contained. So this is the 34th verse. This mind is turbulent, very powerful, balavat, and it does not yield, drudham. So this is the original problem of, and this is now more, it opens up the can of for the discussion about, now it is this problem, this character of the mind is the source or root cause of misery in every day of our life. It is not only related to spiritual achievement or spiritual progress or spiritual attainment. Now, from the heights of the yoga, the problem has now about everyone and in every context. So this is what he said, this problem. And in that respect, we had discussed that how this problem is so pervasive and it relates to every part of our life, our difficulties, our source of sorrow, misery. And how if this thing is set right, suppose everything becomes very nice, and otherwise unhappiness is the lot, is our lot. That we had discussed. And in the last class we discussed the reply from Bhagavan, that he says that indeed asanshayam, that there is no doubt, O mighty armed one, Mahabaho, means referring to Arjuna. Mahabaho. Mano durnigraham chalam. Du, this prefix comes. It says that it is very difficult. This nigraham of this mind is very difficult. Mana durnigraham, because of it is in the constant state of flux. Chalam. Mana. So this is indeed true. And then he says that what is the solution? And he says these two words, solution in two words. Bhagavan says this. And what are these two words? He says Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa and Vairagya. These are the two words he says. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. Gruhyate. You can brought it under control. So, in the last class, we deliberated about the almost half or 3/4 of the class on this idea of Abhyasa. What is this Abhyasa means? So, as I broke it down in this reply or solution of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in very simple or day-to-day language, it is like you do what you are supposed to do and you do not do what you are not supposed to do. As simple as that. That how to control the mind, how to discipline the mind, how to win over the mind. You do work what you are supposed to do and you do not do what you are not supposed to do. Abhyasa is the practice of the thing which you are supposed to do. Repetitions. Developing the habit, that is abhyasa, this part. Now, the second part is to be discussed or to be understood in this context. So, here question arises that when Bhagwan had said about the abhyasa, the practice, and practice of the right thing in whatever direction you want to go, and you see it valid and viable, in that direction you must go, you practice that, and slowly attention from the other things, unwanted thing, untoward thing, that is withdrawn, and you automatically with the practice these things are left back. So total emphasis on the self effort, the practice, the repetition of it. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of it. He says, he rather stresses on that. He says that if you want to leave Calcutta, so go towards Kashi. As you walk towards the Kashi, Varanasi, simply that Calcutta will be left back. So Calcutta represents a city of, of all sensory pleasures, joy. Varanasi is a holy place. So in what does Vairagya means? I have explained this earlier also. Here the Viraga. Now that is the thing. Raga means what you say, that rasa, or what joy you derive from something by association, and by due to which as you develop the attachment, that is called as raga. So ra for ramante and ga for gati. So this motion happens, this attachment, that man is carried away into it, ga, due to he finds joy, he immediately get absorbed into it, he finds joy into it, he get immediately absorbed into it, raga, attached into it, ramate. So that is called as raga. And now viraga. Viraga is now viparita raga. So our sensory attachments, our attachment to instruments of sensory pleasures, they are called as Vishaya Bhoga. So as long as I am hankering, I am running after material pleasures, so long as I cannot seek or experience anything higher, deeper and subtler than that, that is the reality. It cannot be that you can have both. A simple example is given. If suppose a water is coming from a ground pipeline, it is going to the different floors, that different taps are there, and if there is not sufficient force, and the people from the lower floors, they try to open their taps, the upper floor people will not get any water. As simple as that. So we as an individual, we have limited source of energy, mind and other resources, what we can dispense. Now as the energy is refined, so it is always like that. So crude volume is always big and refined part is always small. Its efficiency, what is refined is efficiency, its power, its way of working are different than the crude. So we as an individual, where our mind and our this whole being, this energy works on different level, on the gross, what we call as, say, so to say, physical, and on the level of emotion and thoughts, that is subtle. And these both things are called as material. So here at the end spectrum of it, there you will require refined and refined energy. You will see, suppose people to people difference, what to whom we call a refined person, a cultured person many times, a cultured. So regardless of different culture, what we'll say, how we will see the culture, regardless of different culture, because what is a cultured person in a different culture, it will always mean something different. But if we try to sift, try to filter out what stands for something called as culture, what stands for something called as culture, what can be, if culture are to be compared, how they could be compared then? What are cultures looking for? If we go into this idea, we will find that this idea of being cultured, they are the two hallmarks of that person whomsoever we called as cultured. And it is like a paradox. They are, so why paradox? Because they are self-opposing idea, as if those two ideas being complexity and simplicity. If any cultured person has to be seen, you will see this idea manifest simultaneously in that person. To what degree? Accordingly you will see in any part, regardless of the culture, complexity and how that complexity has become simple with that person. So ways of seeing a crude person, it has to be very explicit. He cannot understand the implications. He cannot understand the unsaid things. A refined fellow, they can judge the situation. Seeing your expression itself, each other's expression, they behave, they understand as it is. A person who is not that refined, he has to given the explicit order, ye muh mein dalna nahi. It has to be very explicit. So its experience, the drive of that person, they are very crude. That greed and fear, and that are mostly with physical. We have seen when we were working in the tribal areas, it was very difficult to work with the tribal areas. They somehow could not understand the connotation of a salary, of a wages, that you work whole day and then you get money which you can utilize for your expenses. This somehow they could not understand. It is like, you want me to work, if I like, I will work. But as far as money is concerned, if you have the money, give me money. What is your problem? So he could not understand that how work and money could be interchanged. They cannot think about anything other than their immediate interest. You see, in the civilized world, in the cultured people, where do they develop these virtues of patience, of negotiation, of sacrificing some interest, of digesting insult, making compromises? Where do these things come from? Because their ability to simulate, which animal have very little of that. To see, to simulate future and to plan for it. Animal have very limited faculties. So also the crude man. Okay. So when we say about culture, so this is the thing, the complexity and the simplicity. The complexity becomes very simple for that individual. Now, When we see about the culture, what are they oriented towards? They are naturally oriented towards a larger picture, larger interest of the individuals of which it is consisted of. It is looking at higher goals. Culture is looking at higher goals, more sustainable goals. Making way, making room for as many as possible. That's how culture is formed. So, for that energy which is operating, which a crude person has a plenty of it, that a refined person he spends on a different level. The culture part, they devise different mechanisms. So you go to any culture, any refined, developed culture, you will see their ways of working, ways of understanding, their senses of jokes, of respect, of other dynamics, dealing with each other. So Japan is very highly, is a defined culture. It is not open like American culture. So because few things, they mean certain things. Like you cannot go and compliment anyone. So complimenting other people, they can be considered as rude. You cannot compliment, oh nice dress. You cannot say that. Because this can be said only by a superior person to his inferior person. So complexities. There are complexities. A cultured person there would be, he can understand that complexity very well to minutest and subtlest degree, and yet it is very simple and natural for him. And now that person would be called as a cultured person. Do you understand that? So why do we are talking about these things? We are discussing these things with respect to the ideas of the energy expenditure. Where is the refined energy work, and how does the crude energy work? Mostly on a bodily level, where for a crude person, so his senses should be, give him a pot full of rice, he will eat that. Maybe something tantalizing his senses, his tongue, his taste buds, and he is more than happy. He can work like a horse. He does not aspire any greater ambitions. Supposedly, a crude energy expenditure folio would look like that. Whereas who work on the very higher scale of the things of the society, maybe rulers or the politicians or different people in different ways, and their life are very complex. They are not straightforward. Their thinking, they are weights and counterweights. So there are stakes, there are odds, they are to be considered, and that's the weight to complexity. Yet it has to become simple. Now, if energy has to reach from even higher than that, I said the material something, then the thought, and there is the end spectrum of that thought which leads you in the realm of philosophy. Which the higher, it does not seek anything worldly, its pursuits, it has somehow got inclination, a perception, a faint echo, the impression of which something lies beyond these horizons of what we call as matter and mind. And it has developed an aspiration, attraction for it. It is questioning the basic foundation of our ways of living. It is challenging the status quo. How life should be lived. What is man? What is the goal of the man? What does man aspire for? how life should be lived. The fundamental questions are asked. So what is the source of eternal and sustainable happiness? What will solve these problems of human being? Why does man suffer? What causes? So these are thinking in terms of principle, not in the terms of personal, that how I want to be happy, how my misery is to be removed. It is not being thought like that. This is the higher spectrum of the mind, which you go into principle and ask very fundamental questions about the existence itself. And for this thought, you will require a refined mind, that you can comprehend the complexity of it, and it must become natural. You must be able to own, you must be really from your guts intrigued into it. This taken forward ushers that individual into a spiritual dimension. And there, what we work is now where he want to exercise, where he want to attend, where he want to do his spiritual effort. And therefore requires a very refined energy. So, if any person therefore is stuck to materiality, that this alone is the truth, and I am more than happy with these things, so what? There are miseries, there are setbacks, and there are sweet and sour experiences, but this is what life is. So this is total dank materialism, that nothing lies beyond it. Whereas a spiritual orientation of the human being is, yes, he is experiencing the material happiness and pleasures and sorrows and misery, everything. But he has somehow got this inkling, that peep into that infinite, that there lies something, that this is not everything and I must seek which is beyond. So this spiritual aspiration has taken birth in that individual. So this is the law, this is the rule. So to proceed therefore for spiritual endeavor, spiritual effort, why do people follow a lot of restrictions? Some it come by their own, and some they are generally advised, if you want to be spiritual, and etc., if you want to practice these things. So in yoga, what we see, Sarvabhauma Mahavratas Yama, Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya and Aparigraha. So practice of those things, these ideas, why he should control or restrain his behavior, why he should not go undaunted, without any hesitation, in satisfying all his greed, all his desires. So it cannot be all the way. So if you want something higher, you will have to lose the lower, and this transformation comes simultaneous. How he will lose it? If he simply lose it, simply give it up, he cannot get that. So this transformation must be very natural and gradual, that he gets the aspiration, he tries slowly trying to produce it, and then he does also effort in that direction to leave it. This part is called as living, this part is called as vairagya. Viparita raga. Attachment to these things, materiality, giving up these things, developing attraction and attachment to something higher. The way you used to believe and you used to consider your life when you were a child of 6 or 8, you do not behave that way now, do you? No. At certain things like Superman was, or something some other DC Comics character was God for you. Those probably that dress and those insignia, and your room only was probably filled with those things, and that was your life. You used to fight with your friends that who is superior, etc., etc. That was your life. That there are two supporters of two heroes, our Bollywood hero, maybe Salman Khan and then Amir Khan. You won't believe people still do that. They actually fight that which hero is greater. Grown up people do that. Grown up people do that. There is such a fanatical fan following of Rajnikant, you cannot even imagine. Fanatical fan following of politicians. I cannot even imagine. What are they talking and fighting, So I will not take the name of the politicians. So one politician is so that your leader, if he does like that, no, my leader will simply call him and he started punching him. How are we different than children? How much we have grown up. So my point is, so growth necessarily is not the time you pass. Growth is literally growing in whatever the metrics we are talking about. There must be increment. We must see that it must be palpable, tangible. It must be the experience. It should not be the belief. It should be the working functioning of that quotient. Then it is growth. So viraga, this is growing. From viraga comes the word vairagya, that you grow from there. It is not denying. It is not denying. It is not hatred. Vairagya is not the despising something. You grow from there. How beautiful that is. Vairagya is always something considered as having the element of, a condemnation, tiraskar. Whereas the viraga means developing a viparita raga. You develop a new attachment. You set your focus on something higher. That is vairagya. That you grow from there. It is not denying your past self, what you were, what faults you had, what mistakes you did. It is not that. It is not denying. It is not covering up. It is growing up from there. Vairagya. This has to come. This growth must happen. Only why abhyasa and vairagya is necessary, why vairagya element is necessary. Only practice makes man perfect. Alright. So what is the importance of vairagya here? Now, mental impressions are very strong influencer. They do not die. Even if you leave any bad habit, its memory is always there. Suppose somebody is alcoholic, okay, and with the help of his friends, his family, and by his own goodwill, by all support, he came out of that habit which he had developed very religiously by repeatedly indulging into it. He came out of it. Alright. So practice. This part is practice, not drinking now, doing something else, etc. etc. विजय, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? तुम क्या रहे हो? तो जो भी है वो कुछ नहीं करके तुम दूसरा कुछ करो. So, so this person supposedly, now people started believing his life started to improve. Everything good is coming, by the way. He is desirous of that. Yes, he want to change. It is not like that because other people are forcing him. He want to change himself. And he is doing that. He is able to live without that addiction which he had developed. All is going nice. But as soon as he is left alone, and supposedly there are triggers, probably maybe stress, or maybe probably weather. So it is nice raining, it would have very nice. So this memory, as soon as which had suppressed, they will immediately surface. And they will haunt him like a ferocious ghost. They will disable that person to think any other matter. He will be, that individual will be so frightened if he is not in the company of somebody else, and he so it is very much like that he will fall prey to that habit again. So practice, it made him created that avenue, but it does not eradicated the root, that raga within. Abhyasa therefore sounds the easy part. Vairagya is the difficult part. Because abhyasa is doing something new which he can exercise, and probably those challenges would be easier. But Vairagya is meeting your old past. It's the facing the same brute face to face. And not feeling scared to stand in front of it and saying no to its face is a difficult thing. Whatsoever may be, it is not only case of substance abuse or any bad habit, anything like not studying, suppose, habit of procrastination, lethargy, impression once formed and you derive joy of it by this untoward means, it has its price, and we have to pay its interest for a long time. That does not leave us. That is the greatest punishment of inculcating bad habits. That is the greatest punishment. Not what loss they cause us, apparently, but they torment us for the life. That does not leave us. So, this Vairagya is something that it is not hatred. It is not developing that a negative feeling towards something. It is not that. It is not dvesha. Vairagya is not dvesha. This has to be understood. It is raga, replaced, replenished by certain other thing. That is the only solution. So the joy you is to derive, more intensified joy you must be able to find, which will eradicate this memory. And mind is the slave of habit, of the repetition. This is the only assurance we can have not to fall back prey toward old habits. So one after another, what will guarantee that? So spiritual life essentially is looking at that goal. What is the most intensified experience an individual and a human being can have. That's what human being is all the time after. More intensified more pervasive, more permeated and sustaining that joy. This is what we want. More unconditional, not dependent on different factors, which is available to you at whenever you want. Any material pleasure, any emotional pleasure, it is conditioned, governed by, it is subject to the different influencing factors. They may spoil it, and you are always hungry for it. Why do people do wrong things or bad things, so to say, fall to bad habits? They are always looking for that pleasure, that happiness, that derives them, find something which is quicker, easier, cheaper, probably. So that's why people take to recourse to different things. How to become happy. Your search for that happiness, that ananda, is infinite. Because your nature is infinite. And nothing but infinite will ever satisfy you. That's what you are seeking. You are seeking the infinite in the finite things. So, this journey from going from one place to another, leaving one thing for the another, seeking for more intensified satisfaction, intensified experience, this will go on till you do not find something where you can experience that kind of state of mind, where you can immerse yourself, where you can lose yourself, where you can forget the world and absolutely come in touch with the yourself. Analyzing this nature of our all endeavor and pursuits, our forefathers, rishis of the past, of the ancient, they said, this is what you are looking for. You are considering that these things make you happy, this state of affairs can make you happy. It is not that. It is only after having such things, your mind comes to a state which simulates, becomes quieter, and that Atman reflects. And so you experience the joy. That's what you called as Ananda, happiness. It is at the mercy. Your mind is at the mercy of the different factors. And it will be always challenged, threatened, scared by those things, controlled by those things. So you can go independent of it and you can seek it. That is what we call the spiritual life. The pursuit of that joy which is independent of all material factors. So Vairagya is therefore essential. This Viparita Raga. That it must be you must find something more intensified. That it eradicates, it wipes out all your past memory. So this Abhyasa and Vairagya, these are the two things. So Abhyasa is the practice of those things, and Vairagya also essentially mean the same thing again. It is not the different thing. That you change the locus of your attachment. And where do you put it? For what you are practicing towards. In the same way you do it. So unless it is what you are mentally, intellectually exercising, unless it is also emotionally fulfilling, it cannot give rise that state of the mind that you can forget, that it can create an intensified experience, that state of experience. You cannot be sure. Only physically doing, having no soul in it, that it does not touch you deeper, does not take you deeper within you, you cannot be assured that you will be relieved from the influence of your bad habits. And there, where you experience such state of the mind with your practice, abhyasa and vairagya, there the mind concentrates, there the mind focus, there the mind is under control. Mind is derived by this, the pursuit of pleasure, pursuit of happiness. And once we have to train, we have to discipline, and we have to make it experience, we have to talk mind in its own language. It will not listen to the lectures of buddhi. ऐसा करो, वैसा करो, ऐसा करना अच्छा है, ये कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Mind does not understand that language. Do you understand? These are try to understand these things. These are part of your being. But can you see, can you relate? These things are as an independent functions. Unless you are able to see them, you will not be able to deal with them accordingly. You analyze, you introspect, and you make them separate as if from yourself. Mind does not listen to the lectures of buddhi. It for only the time being it says yes, that's all. Mind does not change by buddhi. इसलिए कभी दूसरों को लेक्चर देके उसका मन परिवर्तन नहीं कर सकते, बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. There are only two things which derives our mind, that is lobha and bhaya. That mind is crude, however I try to be refined, that mind is of that aboriginal person, led by greed and fear. That's how crude our mind is. Now it has to be made cultured and refined. So it has to be disciplined. It has to be given taste of something higher, that only it will understand. It has to be given assurance that it will get it regularly, that it can bank upon it, it can go after it again and again, and that you will commit yourself that to remove any obstacle, hindrances, any resistance to it, to attaining that joy. That language alone will mind listen. It will not listen. What you say, the instructions. It behaves like a self-independent autonomous function. That mind has to be tended. And it has to be tended and disciplined. With this love must be given to it. It must be that carrot that must be held before it. That only will propel it. So that is our psychological, our emotional thirst, our hunger, that will derive it. So that has to be placed in the right direction. So this is the part. So this is how, wherever this is double implication. Wherever mind concentrates, you get the joy. Where you get the joy, there mind concentrates. When mind is concentrated, flow, do you understand? Mind is something which is scattered. Like air, when it is compressed, it becomes cool. Like in this air condition we are seeing. How this air is made cool. How the temperature of the air drops. It's just because of compressor. Because it compresses. Because when temperature rises, air tries to become thinner and spreads. So do you understand that? So because in this summer we have these incidents like our tires of different vehicles, etc. In winter it becomes condensed. So if it is compressed enough, its temperature will drop. It has to lose the energy. That's how we get the cool air from the air conditioner. Isn't it? So, like mind, its energy is dissipated. You cannot have intensified experience. You have laggard, low level experience. Sri Ramakrishna used to use this word that manhush chai, manhush. Like in Bengali, there is a word for manushya, manush. Manush is the word for manushya in Bengali. So instead of saying manush, what Sri Ramakrishna is saying? Manhush. Now hush means hosh, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं होश. That awareness, consciousness. What is he saying? That means the mind which has this hush, मन जिसको होश है, जो मन होश में है वो है मनुष्य. श्री रामकृष्ण का एक मीन्स वे ऑफ पुटिंग इट. What does that mean? It is absolutely true. This is the state of the being of humans. We are half dead people, half conscious, half aware. What is consciousness like? Only we will understand if we really experience something like that. We are not even conscious of body. You see that there are so many functions of our body. They have become autonomous. Like beating of your hearts, of your lungs, movement of your guts. Do you control? There are still voluntary muscles for them. A cat or a dog or different animals. I cannot do that. Because I have given up my control over it. So, we are like that. We are not even aware of our body. We cannot be fully conscious of our body. Many different kinds of meditations are there, especially in Buddhist tradition. They may different practices. Many martial arts are there. They focuses on this. That all the time being aware of your body. That where you are stepping foot, where your fingers are, that bring purposefully that your awareness into your limbs. Like many sleeping techniques. They do these kinds of exercises. That bringing consciousness to your body. And then letting it fall asleep slowly. We are not. How much we are aware of our body. Even if we just pay attention, we have very little attention in our body unless it is pricked, hurt, or we are just using it. And we are not paying any attention on it. This is what we are. That consciousness. So similarly is our mind. So much that we are at the mercy of it. It is not, we are not channeling, guiding or using it or exploiting it or working it. It is working us. So when this mind is concentrated, this discipline, then it derives. And this concentration, how much you succeed in that much powerful it can become. And by that it develops the power of penetration to go within. To bring out the secrets of the innermost recesses of your heart. Without this concentration of mind, it is never possible. This ordinary, haggard and tired and weak and scattered mind, it cannot avail those. It cannot reach. It is not its function. So mind must be concentrated to reach within. And for that it has to be disciplined. If it is discipline, if we pay for that, pay in that terms, if we take that effort, if we bear that inconvenience and discomfort, if we can nudge our mind and negotiate our mind and make it slowly do and sustain in our effort, and we bring in that increase, that concentration, a tremendous sea of change in our life, our perception and everything. We cannot imagine, forget about spirituality. That is the higher way of living. Quality and quantity of material cannot define that. that person has to belong to higher level of the state of minds. So these are the two ideas, the practice as well as vairagya, abhyasa and vairagya, that developing this new attachment, taking out your, to wipe out, to win over your old attachments through practice. This is how you train and win over your mind. You get the control of the mind. You have to converse with that mind. You must become familiar, acquainted with what is going on. You have just as if outsourced and let it do its own bit. You have to talk to it. You have to call it, you have to face it, you have to work with it, you have to work that mind, because that mind is going to have the experience, not buddhi. These are the two different faculties. Mind does not decide, mind does not function in that way. That is not mind. So this is a clear differentiation is made in Vedanta. Antakarana Chatushtay. Chitta, Buddhi, Man and Ahankar. They are as if the one entity functions in four different ways. So these four things are different, distinct one from another. Man is not Buddhi, it is not Chitta, it is not Ahankar. The four things, they work differently. Their functions are different. It is this Man that is the most important part, which becomes eligible for the higher experience. None of three these becomes. So that's why it has to be taken care of, tended, disciplined, trained, and then made it into some kind of weapon which will pave us the way of higher experience. So this much for today, and we will continue this discussion on this next verses in the next class. So next class would be 26. Next class. So in the next Sunday there would be no class, because spiritual initiation would be happening here. So on that day, next 26th. Okay. So next Sunday after that we will resume our discussion on these remaining verses of the 6th chapter. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.